Coming to you live from Alola's Battle Royale Dome, it's the one, the only PUCL Battlecast.
Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Battlecast. I am your host, Seth Vilo, here today with my other co-host, the wonderful deep-sea fish, Shark Finnegan himself.
Hello, hello.
Yep, it's the two of us for what is ending up being a little bit of a late episode, so thank y'all for your patience. Life comes at you fast, especially when weird things happen that eat up all of your evenings in a week, so thank you very much for your patience. Yep. We got the show out, gosh dang it.
Yep.
And actually, it kind of worked out.
Worth it.
Exactly, because had we gotten it out at the time that it should have, we would not have known about what ended up being kind of today's topic. So it worked out pretty darn well.
Mm-hmm.
So, ho-hum, we're here, we're recording, we're getting this, and it's going to be a little bit interesting of a topic because of the time we're recording this and when news is dropping. So you get to bear with us for a little bit longer. But we'll get to that when we get there. What have you been up to, Shark? Anything particularly interesting in the video game battling world?
Primarily, it's been just a little bit of draft league. I'm in playoffs in one league.
Ooh.
Which is nice, though I've got a really rough matchup this week, so fingers crossed there. I'll figure some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
That team is pretty fun, though. It's got Coco, Chomp, Melmetal.
Ooh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, though my opponent has Blaziken Speed Boost, no complex bands, Mega Diancie, and Celis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just as terrifying, actually.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I do not have great...
I mean, are there great Blaziken answers in general? There's Slowbro, but that's like all I could think of.
That's probably the best generic one. Yeah, like my bulk back end, I have like Mega Blastoise, which kinda not really. Blissey, Umbreon, and Pyukumuku.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's suicidal Pyukumuku time.
Go Larry.
Yep, gotta send him in to do what needs to be done.
Yep. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm right there with you as far as draft goes. I'm in the PUCL one. That's the only one I'm in, though. And the week of final trades for PUCL 1 has come and gone, and my team looks very different than when I originally drafted it, including the one and only Hawlucha himself is owned by me.
Right. I don't know what you're going to do with Hawlucha on this team. I mean, you have a Buzzwole right there.
I already have Bulu. I don't need to do much. I've got the seed ready to go. And also, I can also just keep it from ever seeing the light of day again. It just depends on my mood.
Well, I guess to know you have to know your enemy, right?
Yeah, honestly. Like, if you hate a Pokemon or find yourself consistently losing to a Pokemon, build a team with that Pokemon and you will quickly find out what you lose to. So then you can take that knowledge and use it on your own team. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to doing a ladder on a suspect test for OU, I pretty much, like a lot of people, always go something hyper offense, both for the fact that you can speed through laddering a whole lot quicker, and you just sometimes want to go for Pokemon Blood. And Hawlucha is often a core member in doing that because it can cheat games and win you games that you should not win in ways that few Pokemon can.
Mm-hmm. I think I even saw Shamu use just a Life Orb variant of it.
Yeah.
Which actually did a number. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Lucha does have a decent attack without setting up. So
you
always think of the super fast one, not the limber one.
Yeah, exactly. It's even got Mold Breaker if you need to break past an ability for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's pretty good against Ferrothorns.
Oh, yeah, you don't take recoil, do you?
No.
Huh. Wouldn't have thought of that.
Iron Barbs.
Yeah. Or do you? I don't know if that makes you take recoil, because wouldn't it just stop the effect going through? It doesn't halt the ability. It stops the ability if it somehow stops your attack.
I think it
I'll
just
have to look into that.
you just straight up ignore the ability.
That may be it. Okay.
Let's
We've got a thought right in the beginning of the show. Here we are talking mechanics right in the intro part.
Abilities affected. No, it does not bypass iron barbs. It does bypass other things, but doesn't stop iron barbs. So never mind.
Yeah, because iron barbs is kind of after the attack is concluded, so it's no longer a factor.
Yeah, no, it breaks through things like multi-scale, bulletproof, fluffy.
Because those affect the actual attack calculation itself.
Yeah, that's what I think, yeah. Moldbreaker's that's
learn
basically
something new every day, and that's how Moldbreaker works, folks. Bet you didn't expect to hear a Moldbreaker summary at the beginning of Battlecast 51, but here we are, taking you off guard. But yeah, that's been my experience. My next big project is going to be preparing for the NAIC trading card game, though, not battling. So I'm a trader, as has been said publicly multiple times. So,
hey, you gotta win what you can.
Exactly. So if my edge is not as sharp as it is for competitive battling, I apologize, dear listener. I am focused on winning first place at NAIC so I can go to Worlds. That is my only way in at this point.
Yeah. Better than trying to go win VGC with Kyogre and Zacian Crown.
Right? You mean 90% of the teams that are in VGC right now? Yeah.
There's your VGC summary. It's this.
Yep.
It's those two and anything that could stop those two, like things
there
like
it is.
Quagsire
We looped it back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Incineroar. Lots of Incineroar.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Ugh. But anyway, we are probably going to just go ahead and hop on over to tier time. We'll take care of that and then get to the topic which we've been talking about for months. So we will catch you guys on the other side.
And now it's time to see the results of this month's Blood, Sweat, and Tearing.
And we are back with tier time, and we're starting from the top, and it's Ubers as always, and Shark's actually got something for this. Not necessarily for Ubers in general, but tell us about what you've been watching, Shark.
So, first of all, the Ubers metagame is, the same right now because there's no...
Boring.
Yeah, the same, no real innovations at this point because most of the big scary things have been banned or under control. Right now, though, I am participating in I'm in a draft league server that's Ubers based, and they're going for the kind of last hurrah draft before Scarlet Violet drop is to kind of have a anything's goes type Uber draft. So you can draft any amount of Ubers you want as long as you're within the point budget, all the way up from Mega Rayquaza, Zacian Crown, all the way down to things like Dragapult, Urshifu, Cinderace, kind of at the bottom of the kind of Uber or borderline Uber Pokemon. So as they're kind of trying to figure out the tiering and whatnot, they've kind of asked a couple of people around the servers, like anyone who had the time to go just run a whole bunch of mock drafts, just as they're kind of assessing what gets drafted and where, so that way they can kind of tweak some of the point values given a wide variety of Ubers. Because the power level of the Ubers that were allowed normally were things like Marshadow, Mewtwo, so like Arceus Dark, Yveltal was like probably the just best overall Pokemon in Ubers at that time. But now, with all the even more broken stuff, like Xerneas with Geomancy and Arceus proper, yeah, they kind of wanted to kind of get an idea of that. But just kind of been a lot of discussions right now as the first round of the drafts are starting, is just kind of what some of the better Pokemon out there. And obviously it's clear above, even if there was a metagame that did allow all the Ubers unhinged, Mega Ray and Zacian Crown will still probably be the best of the best.
For sure. Yeah. I'm looking at the tier titles, too. Like, you put an image in our note file. And, it's got Bronze, which has things like Blastoise Mega because of Shell Snout, Dragapult, Genesect, things at that tier. And Bronze up to Diamond, like you would expect if you're used to any kind of precious metal-based tiering system. And Diamond's got things like Mewtwo, Marshadow. Then it gets it to, like, Immortal, Radiant, and Deity with Rayquaza and Zacian. So I just love the tier titles for those top three.
Yeah. No, it's very fun, and it's just like just kind of getting that idea of just kind of, is it really like, yeah, no, those two are the clear away Deity level Pokemon, just because, like, just literally can, if Zacian Crown comes in, you know, it just breaks things, and it has a stupid speed already.
Mm-hmm.
Mega Rayquaza, the fact that it's, you know, it's maybe a little bit slower, but it's 180 raw attack stats with 115 speed and an item slot.
Yep.
That's the crazy part, is that it goes to an item slot.
Exactly.
Which is, though, it does bring some arguments for things like, well, is Zacian, like, what's the kind of the next best one, you know, whether it's Arceus being able to use whatever item, Zacian who can use whatever item too. There's some good discussions there kind of going through. But one of the better value ones that are kind of up there that we'll be probably following is Necrozma Dusk main, because it's just so bulky that it can basically do almost anywhere. Mm-hmm. Specifically, like a lot of weakness pulse autonomized set, that if it could get set up, that nothing can really stop it.
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Where's regular?
That is in Radiant. It is better. I think because you can use an item, Kyogre is better than Primal Kyogre.
Yep. Yeah,
I think it's just
lost track of it.
That little bit reason, and I think also the fact that having persistent rain is a little bit better than persistent sun, or because I mean, with the primordial, once you leave, it goes away.
Exactly.
Yeah, having the rain out is a lot. The Groudon Primal is good. So I think it just nukes its own weakness.
Come on, Gen 9, bring back Primals and Megas. Let me use them again. We can leave Z moves behind, but Primals and Megas are their own thing. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe let Ultra Necrozma exist, but come on.
Yeah. There was actually a minor discussion on Z moves, and I forgot. Like, I didn't know this. Do you know what Z Geomancy does?
No.
It's an Omni Boost.
Yeah.
So first turn Omni Boost, second turn +2/+2/+2 on your specials and speed.
Yep. That sounds about right.
So
bananas.
Gross. Just not. If you get to if you survive the 2 turns, you can just Draining Kiss, Hornleech, even just Draining Kiss, Hornleech, just to get your health back.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, let's hop down from Ubers into the actual other tiers themselves, in which I kind of gave a note on it last month, but a lot of these are going to start moving a whole lot slower, folks, just because with a new generation announced, projects close, people slow down, not a lot of movement sometimes. So this will be this one, and the subsequent ones in subsequent Battlecasts will probably be a little shorter. So starting off with good old Overused, not a whole lot of really big changes per se. The anti-Weavile movement continues to gather a whole bunch of steam, making really solid arguments for and against. I'm personally more leaning towards the for arguments for either at least suspect testing. Not quite in for ban yet, but at least test it, give it a shot. Why the heck not? You know, we've got a couple months left. It's fine. But yeah. Other than that, the OU meta in general has recently taken quite a shift towards the offensive. It's kind of starting to lean that way instead. So things that were good up till this point, things like Toxapex and especially Ferrothorn, are starting to become a slight bit less good, just because as people lean more into offense, you can't really have as much value out of momentum saps like Toxapex and Ferrothorn. There's also a lot of adaptation to Hazard stack, a lot more defoggers around that can more reliably deal with Ferrothorn specifically, because that's the one that really enables Hazard. And yeah, those are the trends. There's always some people trying to get some things talked about, interesting enough. Like Tangrowth is one that this week has had a whole lot of discussion. Pretty good physical wall, kind of walls Garchomp, kind of walls a couple other things. But when your physical wall is eaten by Weavile, not a good physical wall.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that was a heated discussion for a little while was Regidrago and how it can just crack past anything unless you have Fairy in your typing. But there was a good argument-ish to see it ranked in like the lowest C rank. It didn't end up getting there in the latest update, but
yeah,
some of those calcs are impressive.
I think it really could have potential, but fairies are just such a strong type that it makes it so hard to use it. Because I think I was just trying to think, how many fairies are there in OU? I've got Lele, or basically 3 Tapus, Lele, Coco, and Feeny, and Clefable herself. So I'm trying to think anyone else. I mean, that's like 4 checks that some teams can run 2 of them comfortably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whole lot of them. Feeny and Clefable being so common, especially, just really, really put a hamper on. So, and they're kind of staples in a way. Let's see, what are some other good ones? I guess Ninetales technically, but that's never past turn. Like,
yeah, that's
honestly the Tapus and Clefable are really all you need.
Because the next best one is probably Togekiss, but that one's just down lower at that point.
Or Bulu would probably be up there as far as like overall general viability. But those 4 fairies
Azu,
just being
Azu
all over
kind of lurks because of, but that's the offense.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Regidrago's not getting a ranking, folks. It's not quite good enough.
No,
so that's OU. Give us a little bit of info about UU, Shark. We'll just trade back and forth here.
Well, they did have the suspect test on Galarian Moltres that it did get banned. I think pretty. I think it was pretty lopsided, that one. I know one of them was fairly close, but I think that one pretty hands down. So now you get a couple more interesting things coming up into play. Registeel is kind of shut up in viability, mainly kind of being a good body press set that you could be able to win at team preview if you get set up in time. And if they don't have Aegislash, Chandelure, Hatterene, Skarmory, Cobalion, Togekiss.
Yeah. It's there's been some UU tournaments I've seen reports of, and Registeel did really shockingly well in those. So it's definitely on the radar all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm. If it get once you get, it just has that 150 defense stat on both sides, which makes it very receptive to getting boosted. You can even run Amnesia if you really want yourself like extra.
When I for the brief period of time that I had Registeel on my draft team, that was going to be the set that I ran, was Body Press with Iron Defense, Amnesia, and Rest.
Just Rest, yeah. You won't, because you got Clear Body. The only thing that could stop you is Haze and Roar.
Exactly. Or a crit.
Yeah. But who gets crits?
Who gets crits? Everyone against me when they need them. But that was going to be the set. I never got the chance, though, so instead I got Skarmory, and did that set once, where it had, like, Spikes, Iron Defense, Body Press, and Roost. Mm-hmm. I ran it once, but it never did anything because the opponent had something. I forget what happened, but they always forced. Mm-hmm. Lucky them. I think there was a ghost. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, there's always the body. I think I did a Ranbat recently that I got to use.
Go-Go?
No, the one that Gen 8 Goat. Gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
Oh, Double.
Oh, thank you, Double. Yeah, the Cotton Guard Body Press Rest Sleep Talk.
Yep.
Which was stopped by an opponent's Poltegeist.
Aw, dang it. You can't afford to give that a free turn.
Yeah, no, I lost that match promptly. Yeah. I didn't have great answers after that.
Ugh.
Yeah. I tried, but it's like, even at +2. And then I just basically ended up giving it plus. Yeah. Anyways, the rest of UU, you've got Moltres kind of doing well right now, despite the fact that Hippowdon exists, because Moltres still has a pretty respectable special attack stat, and Hippo doesn't have the greatest SPDEF, which with Hurricane not being affected by Sandstorm, could just do a number.
Come in on an Earthquake, I guess, and just pop it with Hurricane. I think a lot of them are offensive down here, instead of like what you saw in early OU with defensive.
Mm-hmm. Being kind of that Urshifu check or soft check that it was.
Maybe even run sub to block Toxics and whatnot. I'm not sure, but I've seen a lot of sub Moltres places. I mean, it doesn't really need much moveset, right?
No.
Sub, Roost, Hurricane, Fire move.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. You could either run heavy duty boots. Yeah, you just run heavy duty boots.
Yeah. Flame body or pressure is good.
Mm-hmm. Keldeo's also doing pretty well in the meta, finally pulling its weight, because most of its counters aren't in great positions right now in the meta game. And Noivern is also kind of coming back into the meta, being kind of the fastest thing in the tier, since most of the Crobots are more bulkier set. So it's got that utility, the Noivern utility with offensive presence of being able to spam Boom Burst, Hurricane, Draco Meteors with impunity.
Yeah. as well as Roost and Defog if you take that route too. Noivern's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, you got offense and utility with it. Very much just like Crobat, but Crobats are getting extra bulky with some of the fighting types that are in. Noivern can go a little faster to outspeed them.
Mm-hmm.
Now on to RU.
Yep, sounds good. So last time we were talking, Obstagoon was having its suspect test wrap up, and it did turn out banned. And good riddance, because that thing was bananas and way too much for this level of a tier.
Yep.
So once Cobalion left the tier with the regular update, Obstagoon was way too free to do what it wanted. So now it's finally gone, which opens the door for a whole lot of other things to really have their chance to shine. One quick example is a lot of dark types, just as a typing, got a whole lot better with Obstagoon leaving, both because it doesn't compete with it as a dark type, and because Obstagoon itself really punished darks because, they'd want to come in on a knockoff so that they could absorb that and resist it. But then Obstagoon would just turn around and slap you with a normal move or close combat. So darks really did not like Obstagoon existing. Things like Guzzlord, Pangoro, Umbreon even, all really appreciated people.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that really enjoys it is just psychic types in general. One that comes to mind that people are particularly excited about in the forums is Reuniclus, specifically the Assault Vest Future Sight Reuniclus, presumably running Regenerator so it can switch in and out a lot. Mm-hmm. It has a whole lot more breathing room now because it's not worried about random knockoffs. It can throw Future Sights into the air without just freely allowing the terrifying force that is Obstagoon to come in and absorb it and maybe activate its orb, get off some kind of boost. So it has a whole lot more freedom to do what it wants to do, making special attackers a little more wary.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned it before, but Cobalion leaving the tier and now also Obstagoon leaving the tier opens it up for a couple other random things with Cobalion and Obstagoon in combination specifically. One is Drapion is one that people are using to just kind of fill the Obstagoon gap for now until they find something and realize Pangoro is Urshifu Single Strike Light Edition. So that's a scary thing for now. Another one that I was kind of surprised to see really benefit was Togekiss, because it's had a good counter with Cobalion, because Cobalion would come in on whatever, outrun it, and Iron Head it, which is stab, super effective. Pretty good check to Togekiss if it was slower. But with Cobalion and Obstagoon leaving, both of which were faster and really powerful, Nasty Plot Togekiss is a lot scarier. So that is kind of the summary of what's going on there. Just they're still adapting to the recent bans and tier shifts. Mm-hmm. And that's the summary.
Yeah, cool deal. On to the next tier, NU, where they did have a suspect test on Silvally ground, but it did not make it through. It was close, but it was just under the percentage required to get it banned, which basically relieved a good number of players, as the general opinion is that Silvally ground kind of held the tier together, not quite broken, but just just the standard default thing, just being able to handle just the general threats of the meta and just having that utility and offensive presence, something like OT kind of thing.
Amazing how solid ground types all tend to be what holds things together.
Yeah, they're good role fillers because they tend to either set hazards, or a lot of them end up having defog or rapid spit as well. So they do a little bit of both. So yeah. So Silvally just kind of mimics what Flygon used to do while it was in the tier, being that kind of faster ground. The odd things that come from this are not necessarily the tier impact, but mainly just because of the voting suspect process for this one. There was a lot, I think, issues with the vote and the requirements specifically for it. And definitely kind of looking compared to the other kind of suspect tests, this one was definitely a little bit lower. I don't think quite as many people be able to vote that may have wanted to.
Yeah, it was odd. It was odd reading through the forums, and it was there was kind of a purveying thought of, we know that the suspect test process isn't as good as it should be, but it's what we had. So it just felt weird with that line of thinking being repeated. So I don't know what's to come of that. If any other tiering action happens before Gen 9 occurs, if anything is restructured for Gen 9, if it's limited to NU or applies to all of the tiers, because there's been some tiering frustration before, but not quite like this from what I have seen. So, who knows? That's just what happens when you're the eagle eyes of the Smogums.
Yeah.
And so rounding it out, we'll hop into PU, and very honestly, folks, it's the lowest tier because ZU isn't officially acknowledged like that. But PU's the lowest tier, and we're a couple months out from Gen 9. Not a lot has happened. Honestly, like even in the forums, not a whole lot of posts in that forum for PU have occurred in the last 2 months, let alone just the last one. So, meh. People think that Wishy-Washy and Aggron do a really good job checking majority of special attackers in the tier, which is odd, especially with the next breath that I will say, and that is that Jellicent and Hatrem work well together. I guess Jellicent is blocked by Wishy, now that I think, but Jellicent and Hatrem specifically because Jelly likes to come in without damage. Hatrem does a really good job at blocking hazards from coming in, because then Jellicent in this tier, remember, is a Specs user, so big, powerful, ugly, nasty water spouts coming from...
Oh yeah, from a pretty respectable...
Yeah, I think it's around base 100, which is, you know, that's the same level of attack as Zygarde has for its attack stat. I mean, that's the same as Starmie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is tier time. Expect them to be this level of shortness from here till November because just people are just ready for something new, I guess. That's what happens when you have a balanced tier and not a lot happens. It feels stale because it's balanced. It's amazing how often those two traits coincide. And so with that, we'll go ahead and call tier time here and go to the topic where we can share our woes about what is not to come. We'll be right back. All right. So are we just kind of spitball about how sad we are about home not happening?
And now for our main topic.
And welcome back to the topic of Battlecast 51. It's finally here, folks. The time that we have been waiting for and talking about for months now with great anticipation. The Home Update, which allows for the transfer of Pokemon from BDSP and Pokemon Legends Arceus into Home, and by extension, into Sword and Shield. However, I say that with a lot of asterisks because that is what we are going to talk about next, is the limitations and what it can and cannot enable. So, a big, fast, quick summary, and the one that hurts me the most to say, nothing new is coming to Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Pretty much at all. So, we say that because when Pokemon are transferred into Home, and feel free to hop in and stop me if I'm missaying anything, Shark. I don't want to accidentally mess myself up. But when Pokemon come into Home, they will reflect the game of origin, like where they came from, what they look like, what their moveset is. On the screen in Home, you can see what their moveset is. You can even see on something from Legends Arceus, move mastery level, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah.
It really says this is from PLA, things like that. When that Pokemon lands in Sword and Shield, if it's allowed in the first place, its moveset will be completely wiped and replaced by what its level up moveset is based on the level that it is when you put it into Sword and Shield.
Yes.
So, a Gliscor that you put into your Home that has the move Spikes will drop into Sword and Shield. I'm lying, but we'll get to that in a minute. Without that move. We'll say Empoleon. That's a better example because of the other part.
Yeah, the Empoleon for BDSP.
Empoleon loses Roost. Yeah. And, everything else loses other cool moves. It's all the PLA-specific moves, the things like Infernal Parade, Psy-Shield Bash, Springtide Storm, Shelter. All those new moves also don't make it into there.
Yep, that's
so,
correct.
Nothing new move-wise. On top of that, nothing new Pokemon-wise that we know of is going into Sword and Shield. So that Gliscor example is garbage because Gliscor is stopped at the Galar Border Patrol Agency and will continue to be stopped by that through this Home Update. No Gliscor in Sword and Shield. So no new Pokemon in that regard. And new forms. Hisuian forms specifically will not be allowed in either, despite sharing a Pokedex number. They are new data in Sword and Shield will not be updated to accommodate for that. That is specifically said on the official website. They give an example of Hisuian Growlithe, saying that regular Growlithe is allowed in Galar, but Hisuian Growlithe will not be. So that tells me not to get my hopes up for the next 4 months either. 4 months? 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. Jeez. Oh,
yeah.
Is it almost 6? Is it 6 months to the day?
Yeah, pretty much. From what we're guessing.
We don't know the official release. Right.
Yeah.
There's no date yet. It's almost
exactly.
that time.
Yeah. But no new forms, so my precious baby Hisuian Gudra will never touch Sword and Shield. Bummer.
Yeah. I mean, there is always a asterisk chance, but it pretty much expect that no more updates in that.
Yeah. We have been misdirected before, but the fact that the official website said Hisuian Growlithe will not be allowed in Sword and Shield, while regular will. It gives that example, tells me no new forms either.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I think that's the model that they're going on in terms of, okay, only Pokemon that are in the game are allowed in the... And it seems like there's not going to be the kind of thing that happened in the past. You would have, your regional dex, has 450, but then, you can have these secret Pokemon lurking around in there. Mm-hmm. Like, no, it's like, what's in the game programmed in is what's set.
Yep.
So,
there are other things that are enabled, mainly when it comes to transferring Pokemon from other games into Pokemon Legends Arceus and BDSP. So things can go into those from other games, other regions, so long as the Pokemon themselves are allowed. But again, the movesets will be wiped upon arriving in whatever new game they're from.
Yes.
That seems to be a mechanic that they're going with this, to make sure moveset legality happens correctly.
Yeah, it is basically, it's just now by default, instead of having, I think... Part of it I can understand if this is the approach they initially wanted for Sword and Shield. They had the Battle Ready, which is essentially wipe the moves and gives you the, Battle Ready mark, your non-swish Pokemon. Mm-hmm. That's what you had to do. Go there, get it Battle Ready, wipe the moves, then you have to relearn stuff and be set.
Yeah,
but
which kind of leads into...
doing it at the door. Now you don't have to go anywhere. It's just, okay, it's always going to be Battle Ready.
Yep, which really leads into the ramifications for now and for the future that we wanted to really talk about and highlight. This is kind of an exciting change.
Mm-hmm. It is a great change. It is also a bad, it is good and bad at the same time, depending on your perspective.
This is setting a precedent that is very, very interesting because unlike what you were saying, Shark, if a Pokemon lands in the game and has moves, that means Smogon will let that Pokemon and moveset into its official ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So, take Soft-Boiled Clefable, for instance, one of my precious babies.
Yes, that's such
got soft-boiled in Gen 3.
Yep.
That's the only way. It's tutored, and you have to, in theory, transfer that tutored soft-boiled Clefable all the way up from, I think it was Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that was one of the TMs in that game. Oh, was one of the TMs.
A tutor.
Or maybe it was a TM in Gen 1, probably turned into it.
Yeah, tutor in, you had to surf across in Celadon City or something like that.
Exactly.
It was taught to them.
Little spot, like a grime.
But that's the only way to get soft-boiled Clefable all the way up. So if this is setting a precedent of, we're not going to have you have to do a move legality thing, we are going to wipe the moveset upon entry. Mm-hmm. That changes a whole lot of things. And the interesting part, too, it remembers it. For that Pokemon's file, those moves are not gone, they are just not present in the game they land in.
It's something
if you
to watch.
Transfer...
I think there's... I have questions on that, because that seems... Because that's something that hasn't been done before. I'm definitely going to experiment with that, and I think that's going to be one of the big questions is how much does it actually remember? And I'll probably be taking something like, just something simple like a tutor move. Like, if something I could bring into BDSP got Grassy Glide, bring it into BDSP real quick, and then bring it back to Switch and see if it remembered Glassy.
Yeah.
I would
and what I think they're setting up for is still allowing for that kind of transfer to occur, even if a Pokemon touches Gen 9. Because up till that point, once a Pokemon touched Home or Gen 8, it could no longer go back to prior gens, for whatever reason, one reason or another. This might be setting up the precedent that the Pokemon files themselves now remember what those moves are, so when they land in Scarlet Violet, they have one move set, or even learn set, and when they land back in Sword and Shield, they reset to Sword and Shield learn set, and may even have moves that they had remembered from there. It's going to be real interesting to see what the data does and how much they remember from one game to the next. But there could be a lot more translatability, but also a moveset reset, which will basically completely revamp what Smogon tiers have come to, memorize and know. How many things have knockoff? How many things have toxic? They won't anymore. That'll be
toxic. Yeah, toxic is gonna be huge.
Yeah. Your Buzzwole won't be able to toxic any random switch in or anything like that. Like, that'll be gone. Only a handful of things will have that move now, in theory. I'm excited for that. I've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're setting up...
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think that's good, because it just, sometimes it just gets a little complicated trying to track and read all.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of, hear it out, focus in on... Because, toxic, I'm just looking right now. These are, it's pretty much poison type that learn it by
and,
level.
Ferrothorn.
Things like Nidoqueen, Nidoking, Crobat, Vileplume, Gengar, Weezing, Quillfish, Roserade, Venipede, Drapion, Toxapex, Lazzle, Puce. They all still get it, but things like,
including some
all
random
the
other
evolutions will not get all the...
Gliscor not learning Toxic just mystifies me, honestly.
Totally fair.
But things like that. The soft-boiled Clef might be gone in Generation 9. Like I said earlier, knockoff might no longer be as prevalent in Generation 9. Things that were tutored it back in Gen 4
honestly
won't have it anymore.
Might get cold a little.
Teleport might get
few
popped.
Of those Gen 1 Let's Go PEV ones, like Arcanine,
I didn't think of that.
Arcanine, Clefable, and I think it's Blissey. I think that's a huge one. If I recall, they were the ones on only that game.
The biggest one being the Slow Twins.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't even think they...
No, they didn't. They got it through Let's Go. That I didn't think of. Ooh.
That's going to change a lot of viabilities and make Glowking the best.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we're real excited for and looking forward to with the Home update. Of course, we don't know for now, and we won't know for another 6 months. But, we've been waiting on this Home update forever since they announced it, and we're diving into it. And we'll go ahead and throw this out here. We are waiting to see if things like the moves... the new moves from Pokemon Legends Arceus, and maybe even the base stats, the abilities, things like that. We're waiting to see, because on time of recording, they have not cracked the code yet.
I think it's still being updated. I think it may have been down an hour or so.
Yeah, it's only been down for 39 minutes, so it hasn't landed anywhere yet. So the people who do the normal cracking in data mining have not had the chance yet. So we'll amend this this topic here. Shark and I will get together tomorrow after some chances had, if there's anything to report. So if there's an awkward silence that goes directly into the end here in a couple of minutes when it says, hey, and here's where we'll put a segment if we have it, we may not have it by the time this comes out. Yeah. But who knows? On top of that, we may finally know if Shelter does in fact raise your evasion, or if it just raises your defensive stats and acts as a protect.
Yeah,
so
because before before with Home, you had learn sets and you had these crazy the thoughts of, if you recall, Cosmic Power Celis, Expanding Force Tapu Lele, Power Whip Gliscor. That was in Home data, and that people we thought, oh, we're gonna get these things.
Yep.
We never got them.
And at the same time, Home or Bank or whatever data is how we got a lot of base stat totals for Pokemon. So we can confirm what we think the base stat totals will be. Those are kind of in the code for Legends Arceus to begin with, but who knows? They could change it when they land in Sword and Shield or whatever.
Violet.
Scarlet, thank you. Yeah, Scarlet Violet. When Hisui and Zoroark lands, it may or may not still have the same stats as what we think it'll have.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what its moves will, so that'll be interesting. Will the things that I'm most curious about are the really important meta Pokemon. Shelter, because I'm biased.
And to be fair, honest
predict...
to goodness, Hisuian Gudra is going to be very good. Just for the
It could
time
be,
we
yeah.
used it in draft, it's bulk. It's
Mhm.
bulk.
It is, and it's such a cool typing.
Yeah, it just still does not have that many weaknesses. Bulky and
Yep.
Shelter can be either. Hopefully, it's not evasion boost, and it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
just a glorified cosmic.
What I think it'll be personally, just because a lot of the moves that obscure are semi-protect moves or something like that. Instead of just being a thing like that to protect, they put in obscure in Legends Arceus instead. I think it could be a protect that raises your defensive stats. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe something kind of like a King's Shield.
Yeah, something along those lines. Has some other weird effect on top of protecting. Spiky shield, that, obstruct. You know, those are all weird ones. The other one is Headlong Rush. I really am curious to see what that does for not Hisuian. It's not Hisuian. Thank you. Yeah, it's my TCG brain always puts Hisuian in front of the new Pokemon.
Ursaluna.
But Ursaluna is bananas.
Oh yeah, no, that thing. It's like once you. Well, this is going to be the interesting thing is when it gets if it could get the Ursaring moves. Once it has the tools that Ursaring has,
Yeah.
even getting rid of the cult thing, as long as it gets Facade and Rest, I think that makes this Pokemon a million times better than it is raw out of the game. And Headlong Rush just looks like it's going to be close combat.
Yep, close combat ground type, which coming from a 140 base attack, potentially guts boosted, stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that thing 2-hit KOs Skarmory with Facade. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Ursaluna is instant OU.
Facade,
don't think
Headlong
it'll
Rush, Thunder
break
Punch, Bulk Up, Rest.
Whatever else. Close combat? Like, it can do a lot because it's got Ursaring's moveset, in theory.
In theory. But
Yeah. We've talked about that too, but we're hoping that all these Hisuians make it into Scarlet Violet in one form or another,
there's a
because
few
it'll be the first time they're
that should
usable.
be it.
Yeah. Which ones? I think Zoroark for sure. Were there any others that were teased? I don't recall any.
Yeah, I think it might just be that one. But hopefully
Low-key
that
terrified
does by default
of-
mean that the rest
Yeah.
at some point. Maybe they
Loki
slow it
terrified of
down.
an Amorous.
Yeah, Namorous, Springtime Storm.
Yep. Or just the storms on any of the other genies.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Bolt, Sandsear, whatever the one that freezes things. Mountain Gale. No, that's not right.
No, Mountain Gale is...
Regardless. There's
Sandsear.
Sandsear, Springtide, Wild Bolt,
Bleakwind.
and Bleakwind. Starts with the B. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are some terrifying moves that it may just be big old 100 base power monsters and 80 accuracy monsters.
Yeah. Bitter Malice. I wonder if it is going to just be glorified Hex with, with
There's
the
a lot of
Hex.
hexes.
Same thing with Barbarage.
Exactly. And we're doing a lot of speculation now, just kind of building excitement for hopefully 24 hours from now when we record. Yep, that's what they do. Or record, nope, we don't have any moveset data for a quote-unquote mainline typical battle game.
They have not been programmed into home yet.
Yeah. Because that could be the update that comes in November, is finally having those moves, and then instead of wiping those moves when they land in Scarlet Violet, it may keep those ones. We don't know. They could do anything they want now. The rules are out the window. Like a Pokemon with the same Pokedex number not being allowed in the region? What? Rules are out the window. No Gudra or Growlithe for you, bucko. So what else on top of this? With the home update finally landing, the biggest thing that was on my heart was the precedent being set for the moveset resetting.
Yeah, just understanding.
Is there anything else that was you?
Really, that's the big thing, is just understanding how the moves are gone. Like, are they really stored, or are they going to completely wipe every time you transfer it? So if you take it from Swish into BDSP, does it reset there? Then you take it into PLA, it resets there. Then you take it back to Swish, it resets there. Or does it actually remember any of those things? And
it said that it remembers it when it goes back to its origin game. That's what the PR stuff has said. Could it be different if it goes from, like, instead of one game back and forth to 3 games, and it has to remember 3 different movesets in those games?
Yeah. Is it more of just going into home and back to the game, and that's what it remembers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if we have if we have any other fun new hidden things in the home moveset date,
who knows? Maybe. We might learn a glimpse of what
how busted
Ursaluna
an Empress
could
will
learn.
be.
Yeah, if it gets hammer arm.
Hammer.
No, not with contrary, please.
Please. Break every.
No, immediate Uber. Immediately.
Oh yeah, no,
Uber.
it'd
Get
be
out
an
of my
immediate
face.
Uber. No, it'd be better.
Yeah.
In Amorous
Mandate a ghost on every team. Goodness. So yeah, I think that is where we'll go ahead and call it for this segment. And as I said, after this is where we'll insert a bit talking about what we know, if within the next 24 hours we know anything. If not, then we had a whole lot of lead up to nothing, and we'll hit you with the ending things that we normally say. So, one way or another, we'll be right back. Hey everybody, it's Seth Vilo again, and it's just me this time because honestly there was not a whole lot of new stuff that came out with the data mines so far. So I'll run through it really fast. Number one is that it seems that Pokemon do now, with how they've reformatted how the Pokemon data files are saved, they have a memory on each game all their own. So this again highlights and really kind of starts to set the precedent that a Pokemon's moveset will be wiped upon entry into any new game and then restored to what it is when it goes back to any other game. There is a per-game memory for each Pokemon's moveset. So, Soft-Boiled Clefable, I don't think you're going to make it to Scarlet and Violet. I'm so sorry. This also might tell us that the moves from PLA might not ever make it to another game. We don't know. We have no data. When you look at a Pokemon from PLA with Sword and Shield selected as your game in home, it shows no moveset data at all. No moveset, no ability, no anything. So really it's not even trying to read the data from a Sword and Shield quote-unquote mainline perspective. So we don't really know what that means. If these PLA moves will ever go beyond PLA, we may never have to worry about if Shelter boosts evasion or not. So they may be locked there forever. Another couple of quirks. You can transfer Pokemon into home, and out of home in most situations. You can't transfer your Spindas into home from BDSP because of how the patterns ended up being coded in BDSP versus everywhere else. You also cannot transfer Nincada, of all things, from home into BDSP because it will be caught by the clone catchers or the clone software things, because that's how Nincada evolves. Is it technically in the game files makes a clone of itself based on like the number, the Pokemon data, things like that. So to avoid that legality issue, they are just not allowing Nincada to touch BDSP unless you catch it there naturally. Another couple of things is that Origin Form Dialga, Origin Form Palkia, and all alternate type forms of Arceus will revert to their base forms upon being put into home. This probably tells us that they, if they exist in other games, will still be item hold dependent in order to transform into those forms, just like how Giratina reverts to its base form in home now. The one difference is that Shaman Sky form, of all things, is now able to be transferred into home and stay in its Sky form. One thing to note, just as a PSA, don't try to transfer in your Giratina that is shiny into PLA to have it use Shadow Force. That will crash your game. If a shiny Giratina uses Shadow Force, your game will crash. So don't do that. But other than that, other than those couple of small details, really there are not a whole lot of things added from the data mines so far. So I'm glad we could come back to you 24 hours later with that quote-unquote update. Stay tuned because things can always change, and we will definitely keep you informed. And so now we'll head back to the episode to wrap it up. Thank you so much. And we're back after that either awkward pause or elaboration 24 hours later, and we'll just wrap it up from here. If you like what you hear, then please come listen to us on other things on the PUCL Plus feed, because you've got us with the Battlecast, you've got the TCG cast, which, if I'm correct, is coming out the same day as this one, because I was late and they were on time. We've also got the Trivia Rewind and Game Corner shows that come out here on PUCL Plus. If you like those and want to hear just more general Pokemon goodness, we've got the main feed. If you're not already subscribed there, look up on your favorite podcast provider the PUCL channel. It is the Great Ball one instead of the Oh no, what is this one for PUCL Plus? It's orange. I don't remember.
Is it the sport ball? Actually, I haven't actually
Maybe?
never paid attention. What ball
Oh
is this?
no. What kind of ball
Hold on.
is the...
Hold on. I think it's the sport ball.
I think it's the sport ball. Yeah, I think you're right. What is Pokemon Sport Ball?
I should actually say sport ball Pokemon.
Ignore our typing.
No, that's not the ball.
That's not it. Oh no. It's not friend ball.
I have an infographic here.
Oh no. Jeopardy music. Dee, 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 dee.
Glancing. It's. I don't know.
Is it the level ball? Level up your play? I think it's the level ball.
Yeah. It might be the level ball. It might be the level ball. It might
think
be
it's the
the
level
level ball
ball.
because the level ball I have is it's more yellow than orange, but it has the V.
Yeah, if it's got the V, then that's what it is. This is the kind of mental state you catch us in, folks. That's
it's a slightly
that's some live stream of consciousness.
It's a level ball. It's a discolored.
It's a level ball.
We'll go
Yeah.
with that.
Looking at it again. Oh my goodness.
Oh jeez.
Anyway, look up the PUCL feed, which is a great ball, and that show comes out every Monday. The ones on this Level Ball channel come out every Thursday, unless you're lame like me and forget to get one scheduled. And if you also like to support the show, you can do so in multiple ways. You buy ramen from ViteRamen, the code PUCL. It still works, folks. You can also support us by grabbing some shirts on our channel and subscribing via Patreon. That's the most beneficial way and reliable way. It makes us all have nice mics, folks. It all goes right back into making the community what it is. Good stuff. If you want to be part of the community that I mentioned, join us on Discord. That's where the magic happens. That's where the conversations and tournaments happen too. And we also stream on Twitch very frequently at the PUCL Podcast, twitch.com/the PUCL Podcast. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have
YouTube.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, YouTube. That's the other big one. I couldn't think of the name YouTube. Wow. I need water or coffee. YouTube is a big one for us. That's one that we're aiming to expand on. And yeah, did I miss anything, Shark? You're usually the one that keeps me accountable for that.
I think we hit all the big ones.
Sounds good, including all of us together learning what a level ball looks like. And so with that, we will see you guys next month and join us again for the waning of a generation. Until then, I have been Seth Vilo,
I've been Shark Finnegan.
and we'll catch you guys next time.
It's closing time.